To the end,
which is why.
Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
We might do it on this pod, or we might do it next week, but we are going to get into the revisionist history taking place about Sentry, because everyone is lying about Sentry right now. Okay, Sentry was divisive amongst fans from day one, and a lot of fans never liked him, including myself.
Ooh, can't wait to hear that, bro. Let's get it. All right, now we're going to get to the new Avengers credit scene. If you guys don't want to hear about it, please leave now and then come back in like 5 to 10 minutes. I warned you. So in the end credits, we're not going to talk about the first one with the cereal box, which was hilarious. But we're going to talk about that second one where they have the Avengers branding. So first off, Bucky's Avengers suit is flames. It's fire, bro. The new Avengers logo is awesome. It's freaking awesome. How did you like just the logos and all the suits and stuff? Like, were you into it? Like, I thought it was dope.
Yeah, I really like the brush metal on the new Avengers logo. It's fire. I love Bucky's suit. I love Bucky in this. By the way, it was great. Like seeing him pull his arm out of the dishwasher. That was hysterical. And just him as a congressman was like, so real, and I think everyone could relate to having to read something for some kind of job and just being like, this is boring. And so that was cool, but actually maybe not everyone could relate, especially in the world we're in, but that was cool. I also really liked Red Guardian's new Avengers suit. As funny as it was, I thought that was really that was just great. But the core of it is the fact that the Fantastic Four are coming to the. I hate how we don't really have an accurate number, because I hate calling it the 616 because it's not the 616. I think it's the 1999, whatever, the MCU universe. And we don't, there's another thing people are saying. A lot of people are saying that this scene is the beginning of Avengers Doomsday, which is false, because just because the Russos directed this scene doesn't mean it's the opening scene or any scene of Avengers Doomsday. They very simply could have just made the post-credit scene because they're working for Marvel and it's a big deal of a scene, okay? And that doesn't mean it's the opening scene of Doomsday. People are like so stupid. It's such an intellectually inferior take. Like, you have to realize where the dots connect and where they don't. And if you can't, like, maybe don't talk. But so here's the thing. I think that it was great because, number one, it's going to sell more tickets than Fantastic Four. Now, everyone who saw Thunderbolts, who watched that post-credit scene, is more interested in Fantastic Four. But we know, and this is another thing, if that was the opening scene to Avengers Doomsday, but if Fantastic Four is in between, like, that's a whole other thing. So that makes no sense. But we know that that scene is not really where Fantastic Four begins, because Fantastic Four begins in this alternate universe in the 60s. But what did you think of that scene?
I think that it was the perfect setup, as you said, for Fantastic Four. I mean, it couldn't have been better. With the score playing, I was bought in from the start.
The Fantastic Four, we saw the ship. We saw that they're coming to the 616-1999, which is great. But now I really want to see what happens in between them, because, Fantastic Four, and that is my most anticipated movie of the year. I'm super excited for the Fantastic Four. I would love to see the Fantastic Four with the new Avengers. I don't know if we're going to see that during the Fantastic Four. I think that from what we saw in the trailer really doesn't tell us much about the Fantastic Four being connected to the MCU main universe or the Avengers movie, Doomsday, or New Avengers. But we know there is going to be some connectivity, and they're obviously not going to, show their cards like that in a trailer to the movie. You back, Stevie?
Yeah. I should be back now. You hear me now?
Cool. You're good. Yep.
All right, bet. that Fantastic Four trailer was perfect. Or sorry, the Fantastic Four, the show on the ship was perfect, and I agree. I was talking to some people about it as well. Some of just my friends, and I was telling like guys like at the end of Captain Marvel, right? We see her pop up at the compound, but we don't see that in Endgame. You know, like we see her going right to save Tony and Nebula. You know what I'm saying? So you know, obviously, so I agree with everything that you said. I definitely don't think that is the beginning of Doomsday. I think Doomsday starts off with Doctor Doom, the same way Infinity War started off with Thor. Like no one I knew thought that Infinity War was going to start with like Thor on the ship. No one, at least like the casual fans that I knew, because I was kind of a casual at that point. You know what I'm saying? Like no one really knew how it was going to start. So, and I do believe that Doomsday starts with Doctor Doom. Yeah, bro. Because like I mean, because sorry, what's him?
I was just gonna say I didn't think that, but now that you said it, I agree, and I think that.
Oh yeah, bro. Because like as a casual fan, when you see that big ship, you're like, I don't know what that is, but we'll see soon. You know what I mean? And then you just forget about it, you know, because you get other films, you know. And so yeah, bro, bro, it was perfect. And I also am interested in the whole Sam and Bucky situation, because obviously they're at odds, because Sam Wilson obviously feels the responsibility of starting his Avengers team, and maybe he had Yelena and Buck and those people. Definitely not John. John Walker was not in his list. I can promise you that. But I could imagine Bucky and people like that were on his list. So and then they said Sam Wilson got the trademarks for the name, which I think is funny. I think it's so stupid. That imagine Captain America getting a trademark for a name. So I also wonder to see who's going to be on that team. Is that going to be where it's like it's Spider-Man and maybe Murdoch or some of these other, like I wonder who his Avengers team is going to be as well. So it's going to be, and that's the other thing too. A lot of fans are going to be bought into Bucky and Sam's relationship now. And
I always loved their relationship, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think Bucky was going to show up in Captain America, and I didn't think it would be the right move to take the spotlight away from Sam, but I think they did it perfectly. You know, but I think it's kind of funny now that Sam is like, you know, Bucky was like, how did it go with Sam? Or did they ask him how it went with Sam? He's like, it went poorly. You know?
Yeah, Sam definitely crashed out.
Yeah. For full context, guys, you know, in the comics, the Fantastic Four, they're trademarked, they have a corporation, and Reed had admitted, I think this was in the Mark Waid run. Yeah, it was in the Mark Waid run. And in the Mark Waid run, Reed basically says that the reason he built the Fantastic Four into them being a celebrities and having this big business is because he felt so guilty about what happened, especially with Ben and becoming a Rock and all that. So it's a little different, but I don't know. I could see Sam doing this because they're rebuilding the Avengers. They don't have Tony Stark to fund things. So it's kind of similar, you know, they still do need funds. I mean, I guess, you know, potentially they could be funded by the government, but I think they're better off being self-funded and not being funded by the government, just because if you're funded by the taxpayer, you have to answer to the taxpayer. And if you're, you know, funded by your own commercial interests, it's much better. And we all know the Avengers don't like having to answer to the government from Civil War.
Facts. By the way, Wade's Fantastic Four, and I've been trying to find the words to like put it.
Did you finish it?
Yes, because Wade's Fantastic Four is very different from Hickman's, and I finally found the word is the Fantastic Four are way more adventurous than in Hickman's. You know, because like with Hickman, there's just a clear path going on, and with Wade, it's like Wade was more into like just the adventure of it, you know, and it's it's a really enjoyable. It kind of made me feel like I'm. This might sound like a crazy comparison, so please bear. But it felt like I was watching like Jumanji, about like how they're in this island and they're just adventuring around. That's kind of how it felt, and it brought like a Jurassic / Jumanji vibe to the Fantastic Four, which and this is why, bro. And you said this a while ago in our personal convos where you said something to the degree of like different writers bring out different sides of characters and different sides of teams, and it felt like I'm reading like a whole different version of the Fantastic Four, but not diverging away from who they are as characters. It just seems like they were in a different season of life, and just having both of those, that having that Wade Fantastic Four and that Hickman Fantastic Four, it just like it just really diversified my view. Yeah, it really widened my view of the Fantastic Four, and it really gets me excited what they're going to do in the second and third and fourth Fantastic Four films as well, files as well. So,
by the way, and this is why, like, creators that are out there that barely read comics and they do it like as if it's homework versus listening to guys like us who do it because we love it, we're going to be able to give you much better guidance and insight on this because we have read pretty much all of the comics from all the major characters. So, we didn't just read one writer's perspective and take, and you don't really get to fully know a character unless you've at least read all the trademark runs. Like if you haven't read Wade or Hickman, Fantastic Four, like that's like those are the modern runs you really got to read. But yeah, so and different things happen, and also it's like a lot of it is the Marvel timeline and how does it fit into the context of Marvel. And like there's another run, the JMS Fantastic Four run that takes place during Civil War, and it sees how the Fantastic Four were at odds with each other over each of their decisions on how they responded to the Registration Act and things like that. So, you see different things from different writers and based on what was going on with Marvel Comics at the time. So that's a really cool thing. And like, I do it because I love it. That's why I read it. So, when like someone finds out that Sentry is going to be a character in the comics, so they, were like, oh, I also feel like some people pick their favorite superheroes because they feel like that superhero would sound like a cooler favorite. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't like if someone told me before this movie came out that Sentry is their favorite superhero, I would say you probably are saying that because he's going to be in the Thunderbolts movie and you want to sound like different. That's like, I'll just tell you, my favorite superheroes are Batman, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Captain America. And then those are because the ones I like the most. I'm not trying to sound different. If I'm different because I'm different, that's what I am. But I'm not going to try to be something because I think others will think it's cool. I don't need other people's validation like that.
Exactly.